today was interesting, needless to say. First of all, me even reading the headline that Trump was associated or went to or attended anything National Black Association anything, and Trump is in that headline. Just seeing that and reading that alone was hilarious. I just want to say. Yes, because that was probably the funniest shit I'd seen in all summer. Honestly, that was the funniest shit I've seen all summer today. If you don't know, I'm talking about Trump went to I think it's the National Black Association of Writers, I think it's called, and he basically went there today, and I guess he thought one thing, and apparently it was another. First of all, because I saw that Fox had put a whole thing up there, right? Fox had put the whole just the interview itself, right? They put like 26 or 30 minutes up there, something like that. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, I don't want to see that shit. That's just the highlights or whatever, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's just the highlights, right? No, it wasn't just the highlights. It was the whole interview. So I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, National Association of Black Journalists Conference in Chicago. So, mind you, right? I'm sitting there, and I guess this isn't really copyrighted, so I'm sitting there, right? And I hear this jazz music come on. Right? Now already I'm already crying because I'm like, y'all had the nerve to bring Donald Trump out to James Brown funk music. So I'm already crying. That was the first thing. Now, the second thing is, y'all see right here, this thing says it's an hour and 48 minutes, right? Mind you. So I'm sitting here just listening to the dun, 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 dun. By the second and third one, I said, all right. By the second and third jazz song, I said, okay, when is he coming out? So I said, okay, let me just scroll along, cross it, right? So let me scroll along, cross it. And I said, all right, maybe he'll be out in like 15, 20 minutes, right? So I scroll about 20 minutes in. I sit there. We about, I said, second to third jazz song in, right? So I'm sitting there with my phone. Let's pick up my phone, start scrolling real quick. I said, all right, he'll be out in a minute. But the third or fourth app that I had opened and closed, and it was about the 30 or 40 minute mark in, I said, where is this nigga at? So, okay, scroll along. This nigga didn't come out until damn near an hour and 10 minutes into the actual time he was supposed to be there. Mind you, as you see here, I am at the 1:11 mark of this video. This shit is only an hour and 48 minutes. Nigga, it is 36 minutes left and he still ain't on the stage. Understand that part. So, let's get to when he finally, I'm going to play this part right here because this is hilarious too. How many times they had to announce that he was coming out and didn't come out.
And career fair. We are about to begin a conversation with former President Donald Trump. We ask that the professionalism that we all bring to our newsrooms and workplaces every day is the same professionalism that is maintained in this arena.
That's funny as shit that y'all had a disclaimer. The fact that it's Trump and y'all had a disclaimer, hey, don't throw nothing at this nigga, don't slur at him, don't spit at him, don't shoot him, nothing. Just give him some respect. We all know he hate us, but let's still give him respect in the house. Let's let him come to the barbecue and speak his piece. We know he don't like us. He's not like us. But let him come to the barbecue and speak his piece. That's basically what I got from that.
Please welcome to the stage ABC News senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott. Semaphore political reporter Kadia Goba. And anchor of the Faulkner Focus and co-host of Outnumbered on Fox News, Harris Faulkner.
Now, as you can hear, the audio cut out again, almost.
Hear me? There we go. Test, test, test. Good afternoon, NABJ, and welcome to a conversation with former President Donald Trump. This discussion continues a decades-long tradition during election years of inviting journalists to discuss the policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for president, and the impact of those policies, especially in Black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have attended the NABJ conventions either as presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris's team to schedule a Q&A either in person or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck. Again, the hashtag is NABJFactCheck. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former President of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump.
The amount of non-claps is awkward. You hear the woohoo, people standing up. I ain't see a soul clapping or cheering except for the woo. My goodness gracious, the hate is real in the room for him.
Hi, Mr. Trump. Rachel Scott, BBC. Thank you.
And they kill me with this music.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir.
She came with the smoke early. She came with the smoke very early. I'm talking about she ain't say hi, hello, nothing. Just listen, we got something to say. You sit your ass here and answer these questions. That's basically where I got from that. Listen, Trump is very unwelcomed in there, but I don't know who decided for him to do this. Who decided this was a good idea for him to sit on stage across from 3 Black women? Can someone explain that part to me? Who authorized him to sit across the stage from 3 Black women that he does not like?
Now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And
already, he said, look, I understand. y'all don't like me right now, but I've never been introduced so horribly in my life. I understand you people do not want me here, but I mean, you could have at least said hello, shook my hand, something. You see how he even got intro when he walked in there? He just said, hey, what's up? He didn't even go over to shake the lady hand or nothing. Supposedly they had an interview back in the day, or a couple of weeks ago. He didn't even go shake her hand. He ain't go for the hug or nothing. He just went for the church handshake real quick when he came in. Trump is on 1,000 already. They done put him on 1,000. She done set him off, and he ready to go off. You don't introduce Trump like that and expect him not to the bull and saw red now.
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe
I have
that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with.
So regardless of the matter, now we get down to the bottom of why he didn't come out there for about an hour and 10 minutes. Supposedly it was sound equipment, and he's saying that she was 35 minutes late. From my gathering, I'm thinking that he was the one that was 35 minutes late. Just for me hearing in the beginning when she says, thank you for giving us an hour of your time, and he literally only got about 20 minutes up there left. That's another thing. Second of all, the man thought that Biden and Kamala was going to be there. He's like, oh, you got me here under false pretenses. Brother, I'm trying to still figure out who even advised you to come to anything National Black Association related. Knowing damn well you do not do good in these situations. You don't say the right thing. You are not politically correct in any shape, form, or fashion in these type of settings. This is worse than Diddy doing his apology video after he was kicking Cassie around the hotel floor. If y'all wanted him to get black votes, you could have did a special for Wingstop or something. But this is the worst thing that you could possibly have him do. Is sit across the stage from 3 black women and didn't expect for him to get any type of smoke in the chimney. Because he got smoke in the city.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the...
The nerve of him the nerve he had to say that. When I first heard that, I walked out the room. I walked out the room and thought about life and had a smoke. This man said he is the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Just completely skipped over Obama. And yes, the first black president as well. But, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't recall any president that actually did a lot of good for the black community. I'm just going to be 1,000 with that one. There hasn't been too many that have done for the black community at all in president's history. Let's just be honest there.
Voting Rights Act.
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define the.
You have to define it. No, you have to define it. She just literally broke down the entire acronym to you. You still talking about something. You had to define it.
Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly, very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she...
Yo. The balls on this nigga. I swear. Listen, he failed at being our president. But damn it, he will never fail us at being a stand-up comedian up there. He will never fail us with that. Brother said, look, last time I checked, she was Indian. Next thing I know, she was black. I didn't even know she was black. Yo. Oh, my goodness. And I'm going, for the sake of being politically correct in some type of way here, I'm going to leave my own personal opinions of Kamala Harris alone for the moment. But that was damn funny. I cannot, you can't deny the fact that that was funny.
Obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you
And
believe
I
that
think
she is
somebody should look into that, too, when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know.
Fury, that's the funniest part about this shit. He telling her to define it because he don't know what the shit be.
This lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that
Well,
interview.
you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs.
And then he goes into majority of the journalists in this room are black. I mean, and you could tell there was a good handful in there that's like, well, not quite, but I mean, we get what you're trying to say, Trump. Yes, Norbert, I love it too. He's the freestyle king, I tell you. He is freestyle king up there because he gonna land. He gonna land a punch. He gonna land that punch somewhere. He really is. And then for him to go right into this with black jobs.
Who had the best?
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody
that has a job. A black job is I'm putting that in a t-shirt. A black job is anyone that has a job. I'm putting that in a t-shirt, I swear to God. What is he talking about? See, this is what I loved about this. Because this was we going to invite him to the barbecue and we going to jump him. He don't know we going to jump him, but we going to jump him. And this is exactly what happened up here. Because, like I said, in the beginning, he said, yo, I thought Kamala or Biden or somebody was going to be here. I thought y'all was bringing me here for actual reason for a debate or something. I thought, I was going to sit across here from Kamala and discuss my views real quick. No, we brought you up here for this roasting. That's what we brought you up here for.
That has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's...
The fact that this is his political, his whole political agenda to push is the invasion. The invasion. Right? In my opinion, it's kind of subliminal predictive programming for something else we've already covered before. Project Bluebeam, maybe. But the fact that he keeps emphasizing on the invasion the whole time, it also lets me know that he doesn't really have a political plan other than the one that they already have planned for him with Project 2025. It's literally a box of rocks up there. There is no type of blueprint that he has together for the next coming 4 years, if he even was to be elected at all. Because like I said, my whole thing is I believe that they're trying to get a dictatorship going. Now, the things can change. I definitely will say that. Things I think can change, especially in light of The Simpsons trying to say that Kamala Harris is definitely going to become president. But it looks like she becomes president after Trump. It pretty much looked, from The Simpsons angle, it looked like she was pretty much going to become president after Trump had already become president, and we've had the cyber attack and all this other stuff happening, which we're going to get more into that later on as well. But again, back to Mr. Trump not having anything else to say but talking about his political agenda of the invasion, and people are coming in taking black jobs and this and black jobs that, and the invasion. I mean, we saw a video where there were a lot of shelters opening up in the city, and this was supposedly happening across the nation, to where these hotels, the hotels that are pretty much going out of business, they're going to become shelters. I have noticed that with, like I said, with New York City, a lot of the older hotels that people don't necessarily frequent too much have become shelters now, underneath the American eye.
We've been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that, and Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues.
First of all, crime going down in any place is always a good thing. Second of all, there was already gangsters here. There's already crime here. Immigrants coming in is not the reason why crime has risen. Let's just be honest there on that. That ain't got nothing to do with immigrants. That's, without trying to get too far off topic of what's going on, that is our, quote unquote, allegedly our government bringing in those guns and us getting to use them, is what's happening there. What it do, Fast Life Forever? What it do, Mr. Risa coming in? Chat not voting for either one. Neither am I. I saw cool meme earlier. Had a picture of Kamala Harris that said "Vote for me" with the song playing. Hell no. to the no, no, no.
Issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, you know, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country. And it's destroying the black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history, and his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going.
Something is always the worst in history with Trump, isn't it? He will never fact check if it is actually the worst in history, but something is always the worst in history with him.
And maybe something happens the other way. They said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country.
So he just contradicted himself because he literally just said that his thing was going to be focusing on energy consumption, right? And he then turns around and says that they want to get rid of gas and they want to just go electric. But Trump, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that how you go more energy sufficient if you get rid of gas and things like that? Apparently, like I said, someone just didn't think this all the way through before they sat down today.
Absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you
So
talking
he
with
wasn't
the
even
water?
aware of what happened.
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
He's not even aware of who Sonia Massey is. Did y'all realize that? Or you're talking about the water? No, we're not talking about the water. We're talking about police getting immunity for killing people, specifically black people. And you talking about the water? No, we ain't talking about no damn water. And you see how he was ready to already just Freemason, like just go right around that? Trying to go right around that. Like, dog. You literally are defending giving immunity to a police officer that killed an innocent black woman in her kitchen that was just making some spaghetti at night.
Okay.
But again, why would...
Are they going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
I guess they're charging the officer. Dog, you literally just heard her say he is being charged for murder.
Why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ours.
It depends upon what happens. It depends upon what happens. To be honest, I want to see a black woman stomp him in the pool. Well, to be honest with you, I wish it wasn't still the lesser two evils thing. Is what I wish. That's just my hops on that. This is just terrible up here.
And
the fact that he really does think that a police, because it depends upon the situation. The fact that he's oblivious to what happened to Sonia Massey is our point right there. Like, you're not like us, man. You're talking about you want to do for the black community. You have zero clue of what is even going on in the black community. The fact that you are oblivious to what happened with the murder of Sonia Massey and you still think that he possibly can get some type of immunity at all is nuts to me.
the way in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake.
You see how he keeps even doing that? Or someone made a mistake, an innocent mistake. Or, you know, they're being charged unfairly for a crime that they didn't necessarily commit. Like, dog, you really are trying to defend the fact that, see, here's the scary thing. If Trump was president right now, that cop would have gotten immunity and would have gotten off. The cop wouldn't have even gotten charged with the murder, is what basically Trump is trying to say. That's the sad part right there. He's pretty much defending the fact that Sonia Massey was killed by this cop.
There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine an innocent mistake?
You go after somebody, and it's a very close call, and it's very dangerous. And, you know, they have... the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a, you know, life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. You know, I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in.
The one that about the outburst in the back, she's ready to let him have it over that. Talking about he made an innocent mistake. How dare you say that cop made an innocent mistake at all?
Prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet...
It sounds very similar to you, actually. You're incompetent and can't stand trial. Furthermore, real quick, what I mean by the lesser of two evils is it didn't matter if it was Elvis Presley running for president. Even if Waka Flocka had won for president, or these nuts had won for president. What I'm saying is, by not voting for the lesser of two evils, I'm not voting for another puppet that has zero control over their own decisions as a president.
He can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to different topics.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack.
Someone that doesn't like ABC, he should say the same thing about, well, actually he did say the same thing about Fox News. He said it was a fake network, and they do fake news. But the funny thing about it is Fox Network supports Trump the most.
On a political opponent. I have another one where
sir,
I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you. You're the one that held me up at 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your campaign
I think
position?
I'm speaking for him, too. He strongly believes in family. But I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family, and the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him, actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family-oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point, and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now, you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from
He went right back to you have illegal aliens. Completely went off topic all the way. he got asked about J.D. Vance and then went back to illegal aliens.
Mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have.
Thank you for saying that, because his dumb ass doesn't even realize that they're coming in and taking our votes, but people that are immigrants, or illegal immigrants, I should say, illegal aliens are not even allowed to vote. Thank you for saying that, for dummy.
Been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why didn't I?
Why did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing, too.
I chose
know everybody out there can, but it's hard to hear.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well-connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, you know, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with...
started off on a high level, is what you're about to say. Like, despite the fact that his father had connections, look, that alone right there, his father having the connections, is why he got into Yale in the first place. Second of all, if we're gonna be, if we're gonna be honest here, the last place you could have said to me would have been Yale. Because we all know about Skull and Bones. So now you're just telling me that the same thing that what we've already known and confirmed now, that you basically aren't allowed in the political party unless you go to Yale or Harvard or have some type of affiliation close to.
A difficult family situation, very difficult, with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the law journal. I mean, that's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually, did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was...
Born in a rough situation. Father had connections, went to Yale, and was born in a rough situation. Yeah, Trump.
Very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family.
What's good, Juju?
He's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator.
With my help.
He's a United States Senator.
With my help, he gets it. Of course, with your help. But supposedly he started from the bottom, though. With your help and his dad's connections, he started from the bottom, though.
So, Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days
sorry.
after that...
I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know,
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me
I
to
mean, it's
understand
just,
you, too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's
Whoa.
closer.
I can understand you.
I'm happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris,
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot
she's
understand
closer.
Are you asking a question?
what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring. You know, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Typical Trump. He says things
what?
twice.
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election...
Dear God, Fury B, you hit the nail on the noggin. I was waiting for somebody to notice that part. It's not how fucking speakers work. Like, we understand that, you know, y'all can't hear each other on a stage. God knows I don't know how. But we can hear y'all asses loud and clear as well as the crowd can hear y'all loud and clear. That is hilarious.
Does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think J.D. is. I think that all of them would have been. But you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in.
J.D. Vance?
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, you know, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, well, I mean, my point is here.
But at least it was said in a friendly manner.
My point
At least it was said in a friendly manner. No, the hell it wasn't.
is, do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the
But I
death.
think it's
They're
about
allowing
freedom,
the death
right?
of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the governor
illegal
of Virginia.
in every state in the
That's
country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of
in
the
the country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born.
It's
They're
a
allowing
crime.
abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well,
of
Democrats
pregnancy.
have denied
I think they're right.
that.
And I
That's
think
the
the
thing.
Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps, but the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans.
What's even more hilarious is as you listen to him, it makes you really, it makes you really sad for the country. For the simple fact that you know that he has not 1, 2, 300. This idiot has millions of supporters behind him. That is the funniest thing about it. The saddest thing and the funniest thing about it. The yin and yang laughter with this one. The amount of stupid shit that he says, on top of how many times he repeats himself, how much he doesn't even know what the American policy is. He doesn't know what government policy even is, let alone any of the definitions in it. The fact that he doesn't even know half of the things that, you know, a former president, even the basic things a former president would know, he just don't. And like it's the fact that he has millions of supporters is hilarious.
Liberals, conservative, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being overturned.
They
Multiple
don't know
polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing, out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting. And it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Most people believe in the 3 exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people, I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
She was very rude, sir. She was just very rude. Oh, yeah, sorry. That wasn't a question. That was a statement. Yo, his acting, I swear, yo. I'm telling you. If once again, failed as a president, but I will buy a ticket if he does any type of tour as a comedian.
You did your statement, sir, actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask you.
Yeah.
I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional.
I speak for everybody here in this chat when I say I want to see the results of that aptitude test. Both of them. Because if you got to take any type of IQ test, Trump, I just want to be there in attendance for you answering the questions. I swear to God. What aptitude test did you take? Because I want to take it. If this is the aptitude test to become president, I want to take it. Everybody in here should get an attempt.
I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst.
We have you.
Most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, What they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test?
Mr. President.
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr. President, how do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President,
are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think?
how do you intend?
She didn't pass her.
She didn't pass her bar exam. Look, I don't know how she here. He's like, "Oh, why you here? You ain't passed your bar exam. You talking about something? I gotta take an aptitude test. This shit is crazy. What it do, big gang? What it do, my brother?
Bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a man over here. I think he must work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 100 and...
Mind you, they're talking about the riot that he damn near incited when they stormed the damn White House over his stupid ass.
40 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint, that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to burn
rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would
ask,
you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted.
They were convicted. Yo, I'm telling you, the stupidity of this guy. Yo, he didn't even know that his own supporters in the riot were already convicted. He didn't. Bruh, this is just, oh my goodness gracious. This is just beyond entertaining. This is beyond entertaining. I'm telling you. In fact, and he's saying, yeah, I would pardon them. But, sir, didn't you just hear me say that almost 150 police officers that you were just defending 5 minutes ago? You know, those same 150 police officers, they got beat up. Some of them got, badly injured and killed. But you're going to pardon the rioters that beat up the police officers? You wanted to do your job. This is who y'all want president.
By a very tough system. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them? How come the people
But sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well,
you would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look,
The police that are ushering
nothing is
the police that are
perfect in
ushering
life.
people into the Capitol. He couldn't even get his own point off just now. And then he got caught in that one too. Nobody died. Trump, 2 people died and 1 got shot in the face. Oh, but nobody died. It was okay. But what about the people in Seattle? He just went into a full-on rant and couldn't even land.
You have people from Minneapolis. You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have 2 systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day 1 if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do 2 things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want people. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do I do?
They have to be vetted and they have to be checked.
I bring energy way down.
What in the hell does that mean?
Rates are down.
What does he mean they have to be vetted and they have to be checked? You making it sound like they damn near animals. I understand people got to be vaccinated and all that, but you keep saying the word vetted like these are just dogs that are just straying across the line or whatnot. That shit don't sound cool, Trump.
Inflation way down so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are
fault she was
up.
not agreeing with.
And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car. Okay, I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your job.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much.
That was slick. Project 2025, led by the Trump team.
Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
NABJ will email about
I'm telling you right now, there was some middle fingers thrown up at him, but there was some people that were, I think, more further entertained than anything in that audience. Nobody was necessarily happy with the things Trump was saying as much as they were just entertained by him just being there. That was just a special guest. We got some shit for y'all. Oh my Lord. I haven't, like I said, that was the funniest damn thing I've seen all summer. Fury B, thank you for even telling me that was even going on today. Because, like I said, I was in full-on move mode, and then I stopped and watched this. I said, wait a minute. Not only was this, like I said, as you can see here, this was an hour and 40-something minute, 48-minute, an hour and 48-minute live, okay? Right, Red Tide Trump. So you know which Trump that is. Hour and 48-minute live. He ain't show his ass up there until an hour and 10 minutes in. I knew already something was going to happen just off of that. I knew we were in for it. Journalists, they loved it. They all got headlines for that. Yes, every journalist in there, every black journalist Every journalist in there got some shit for their headline and editorial the next day. Or that day of if they were smart. If they were smart. Uh, man, oh man. There are millions of people out there. And I mean millions of people out there that want this guy to actually be president. I cannot believe that though. I cannot believe that this man has this much support. And he knowingly does not like anybody as far as anybody that's not white. Trump don't like anybody that's not white. That's evident. Exactly. They said Project 2025. His team said, "Up, get him out of here." Yep, nope. They don't even let him answer them questions. They don't even let him answer them questions. And see, that's another thing too. That's why he kept having to go over the invasion thing, and he had to keep running the conversation for the simple fact that they couldn't. He wouldn't answer a single question that they asked him. He just kept going around the questions with jokes. If you noticed, he really didn't answer a single fucking thing. Trump didn't answer a single damn thing up there on purpose.